And so right now, this is just an example. I did this maybe not too long ago, maybe 2 days ago. And so you can see, I just wanted to create something with some variations of the chocolate series. Now, this is a mannequin I had for a while. I didn't get a chance to style her. I didn't get a chance to go in, you know. However, I did get a chance to color her so that you could see that really nice seamless transition. And so in the middle, you can see some of our 5.99. That's in the root area. Okay. And then you can see that transition into a 7.9. And then it goes into the 9.9 at the bottom. And the great thing about the chocolates is that you can mix them. You know, you can alter the tone. You have different shades that you can come up with as you are customizing this for your client. I think that we all have different skin tones. Of course, one tone is not going to be for all, but if you use something like color infusion, which are these little guys, there are color mixers, which can be used as direct dye, oxidative dye, or you can use these to pastelize or neutralize your formulas. So these are really good and really handy. And of course we have violet, gray, blue, we have red. And so I just want to show you guys real quick before I begin a few of the shades. So I don't know if you can see that, but these are just a few of the shades. And I really like that 9.9. It might look backwards there, I don't know. That 9.9 is bomb. And then that 9.91 is so nice. Now, just imagine, you know, putting a drop of violet in there, or even, you know, mixing in a drop of rose gold color depositing mask in your conditioner, just to kind of give it this nice pink rose iridescent sheer covering on everything, like just make it a nice finish. I'm always thinking like that because I want my work to be different. So anyways, you can see some of the placement here is more highlighted in the face, and then it gets depthier and runs a little bit more along the perimeter. So I like that. I think it's very contemporary. This would look better if I had finished it, you know what I'm saying? But I'll probably finish it later and then I'll put it on my story or something like that. Anyways, to achieve this, you have to get closer to the root with your foil placements here and around that hairline, and then you get further away from the root as you move in diagonal back sections towards the crown. Okay, so I'm gonna be demonstrating some of that and just some tips and tricks on what has saved me in the process, what has saved me time as I've started to do it, and different types of patterns and color placement that will give you different types of dimension that you're looking for, whether the client wants it to be lighter in her face, whether she wants it to just be lighter around the money piece and more depthy as it comes down into the perimeter. This is another example. This is probably just a 9.9 by itself, but I did shear this out with like I said before, a little bit of pink, like a drop of pink and a drop of coral actually in my conditioner. So it just kind of gave it a little bit more warmth, but this is actually just a blonde tone that you wouldn't normally see all the time. She's depthy in the root, which basically was that 5.99. Okay, so you can see that 5.99 gives a lot of great natural depth. That's what I like to see. And you can kind of see it from the front too. But the back has a little bit of some of that some of the 7 in there. Okay, just making you see more of the shape in the back. Anytime you're using those darker tones, you get more emphasis on the shape and the line and the perimeter. Anytime you're going lighter, you're gonna be airing it out, making it a softer look, okay? So I'm gonna put that to the side. Oh, and I did go a little further, and I had to include the guys, you know what I'm saying? Just in case some guys might want a little color, but at least they'll be on trend. I don't know if you guys follow fashion, but this fall we are really into browns. So it's a perfect time for our chocolate series to come out. And so you might get a lot of requests for brown tones, things like that as we enter into the fall. And it's nice to pair those with really cool blondes. This is like a little ashy blonde, but it actually came from using it's 10.2, which is our 10V. And that was about 2 parts, 1 part 9.9, and then a drop of gray, actually, color infusion, which is our color mixer. So it kind of gives you this coolness to it, and I just really like how that came out, so I had to show that too. Of course, the root is the 5.99, okay? So I'm gonna get into, this is Jessica, okay? Jessica up in here. Hey, what's going on? So you can see I already have laid a certain pattern here. I love the way that the pattern comes out because it looks like origami, if I said that correctly. And that is the Japanese art of, paper folding, and you get these different types of shapes. But I always feel like the art looks like art when you're in the process, but I love laying foils. It's like laying a pattern. But the particular way that I fold these allows me to remember my pattern as I move along. So I have like a triangle here, I have a square, another square, then I went into a sandwich, and then I went into a square triangle, then I went into a square triangle, square sandwich. And so as you move around the perimeter and in the interior of the head, that will determine how you'd like to place your foils. And that's also dependent on what type of pattern you're liking to see. If you want to have more emphasis in blonde around the face, maybe you're going to be doing more tip out, more baby light. Maybe you will do some slicing in there around the money piece so you can differentiate the money piece area. Still have a lot of blonde, but have a lot of depth as you move back. So I'm going to show you all of that and just get started. So this is texture here, of course. And what I find with texture here, one thing to note right off the bat is that you tend to need or require more product. So I always start off with a nice 50 grams of powder, 60 grams of powder, something like that. I'm using our Blind Voyage clay lightener. And some people don't know, but Blind Voyage clay lightener actually can be used in foils. I just like using it with texture here on my foliage because of the consistency. It really just sticks to where you put it. It's great for freehand balayage as well. And so you can go in with like a 15, a 20, and still get a really nice soft lift, meaning that it's not as abrasive as maybe another one that's just powder. Our powder lightener is actually kind of soft too, but it still will lift up to 9 levels. So you wanna be conscious of the level, or not the level, the volume that you're gonna be using. So I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna section off a triangle, diagonal forward. I wanna touch this hairline. So basically, this triangle here is gonna be the first section that I work on. It really depends on you and how long you've been doing this, how fast you are. Maybe you wanna start in the back so that that will give you time to work on the front, and then you can rinse out the back if it's done too quick. But I always start in the back anyways, just because I feel like it just makes sense, and then I can just really take my time and detail my front versus doing the front and then slapping it on in the back, and I have to hurry up because my front is processing quicker than my back. So, but for the purposes of this live, I want you to get the money, which is in the front, so I'm gonna start there, okay? As I said, triangle, center part, we want nice symmetry. This is just going right in front of her ear, and then this would probably be another triangle. This way, if I break it down like that, oops, you can see. If I break it down like that, then I can stay organized and I can have like a road map. So say we started in the back, we have this whole triangle in the back that's by itself. Perhaps I might square this off, doing a horizontal section from ear to ear. And then I'll approach this differently than I will in the top, or the top of the occipital in the back. Just looking for some of my other clips. So, oh my bad, someone's calling me. So in the back, I feel like this is where you can just really go crazy. It doesn't have to be a particular science to it or a real precision placement. A lot of times just to funnel a little bit of color here to be complementary to whatever's going to be in the front. Wait. Should have had clips and things. I'll just, take this section, maybe I want to go in and just do some really hard V's. And just thick pieces, a little bit of back combing there just for some nice diffusion. And then I'll move up. Perhaps I'll use something lower in volume if I start here. So maybe even a 5 volume, 10 volume. And then as I move up, I'll increase in volume. So meaning I'll drop this down. I'll still be working with whatever I started with, say 10, still working with 10 here. Do that really quickly. Move into maybe about a 15 here, which is this whole back section. Okay. And when I get here, I can still take horizontal partings, but perhaps I'll do chunky lights. If I want to see a little bit more diffusion at this bottom, I'll do a lot more heavy teasing, and I'll start those chunky lights kind of low. And maybe mismatch, not like right at the same point, but I'll do one higher, I'll do one lower, do one higher, do one lower, do one higher. And that'll really create a lot of diffusion so that you don't know where that blind comes from, but it'll make sense and be complementary to the placement that I've done in the front. So anyways, that's just a little something. So I'm gonna just kind of clip this out the way anyways. Now, starting in the front, I got some of my stuff pre-mixed already because I can kind of get crazy and carried away with my time, and I start talking and everything. So I just wanted to make sure I was all the way ready for you guys. I just want to say I am so thankful too to Hairbrained. Hairbrained is a wonderful platform. I love their dedication to education. I think it's so important to stay fresh as a cosmetologist, to always continue your education. I've had so much success in my career just because of my willingness to continue education. And I just wouldn't even be where I'm at now without education. So I really applaud Hairbrain for always being so dedicated to providing education for us. Because, you know, you want to make sure you're getting the right education, not the wrong education, okay? With the digital, I'd be like, dang, because I can't really hear y'all. But I know that, you know, y'all are cool, y'all listening to me. I love the hearts. It lets me know that you're engaged. So thank you. Anyways, so now, even though this was part of diagonal forward, I'm going to start having diagonal back sections. And because diagonal back tends to move the direction to whatever direction that is, so like in this case, diagonal back is going to be directing here towards that back direction. That works the same in cutting, and it works just the same in color. If I work diagonal back, then when this hair is placed, when you put your ringlets in or your curls, or even if you wear it straight, it just has this sweeping motion of going away from the face. Okay, we want the emphasis in the face, but the depth will start to come down, and you'll see how this is just transitioning to the back. So I like to stick to that. I believe a lot of the fundamentals that we remember and we value still come handy in the end. And they tend to give us that tried and true blueprint of how to get success in whatever you're trying to create. So I'm gonna start here. I like to start right there on the hairline. Now, depending on the person, their hair texture, that kind of thing, really determines how you go about these sections. Your speed determines how you go about these sections and all of that. So this is a nice section, I feel like, for textured hair. I tend to take larger sections when I am working with texture. I think that because of the texture, it tends to diffuse lines a lot more, but I will be conscious of like the type of brush I want to use, something, you know, really thick for getting that good distribution of the product onto that section. So I got some of my Moroccan oil foils. I don't know if you got you some yet, but you should if you didn't yet. So my first section, I'm going for the wow factor. You can always scale this down if you have a client who's a little bit more subtle to her approach. However, most clients that sit in my chair want the big bang. You know, they want the boom, boom. So I start off with some people may start off with really small baby lines just to diffuse that line so elegantly, which is nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I do that for particular clients. But because most of my clientele are always looking for that wow factor, because what they're getting done can be expensive, I tend to go for the chunk, okay? Wait a minute, I just noticed Jessica, she got her some little lashes and everything. Wait a minute. I ain't never seen that before, but I don't know if you can see, but she got actual lashes. Wow, come through. This is actually Pivot Point, which I feel like has the best mannequin heads. So my first section here, I want to start off with a little bit of teasing, some back combing. I like to tease starting on the tip because then I get more for my tease in each stroke. Also, when I go to comb this out, it tends to be a lot easier because as you just start from the top and bunch it all up, it tends to make it more difficult to comb out. So I like to start from the bottom. I'll just, have a nice swoop. And that's it. I got a really nice tease there. I don't know if you can see it. I might need to pull you guys in closer to me. So I got a really, really strong tease there. And now I just need to secure that. And the hairline is also a preference too. If you'd like to start off with baby lights, traditionally we might not even do any teasing around the hairline. That's when you just want really fresh blonde highlight from the root, going back. Is usually for a client that is wearing her hair back as a style a lot of times too. She doesn't always wear it down. So she likes to see that emphasis of blonde when she puts it in the ponytail. This is really my texture girls. And texture girls, I feel like they may consider having blonde straight to the root, but they know as well as I know that it's not necessary all the time, just because I think that it actually looks nice to have a little bit of depth right there, especially when it's blended and faded so well. It looks intentional. It looks strategic. So I don't worry too much about having it straight down to the root. So I'm using some of our dry texture spray. Dry texture spray just creates a little bit of grit in the hair. It tends to give it like this disheveled look when you use it for styling. But a trick that I got from our other U.S. Global Color Ambassador, Jessica Scott, is using this to secure your teas, okay? So if you have a bottle of that handy, you can make sure that this is gonna stay pretty good. It's got some grit in there, so it won't really be traveling down that much. And then I'll take a foil. Now for me, I like to put that foil behind my comb. I'll do a fold, okay? And then I'll get my tension where I need to have it. My first foil is gonna be as close as I can get to the roots or the top. And so I got my lightener here. Let me see. I need a fresh, oh, here we go. So I'm gonna dip, and then you can see my consistency is pretty thick. That's what I really love about the clay. And so once I apply it, it's gonna stay exactly where I want it to stay. It's not too runny, it's not too crazy. And so then I also can go ahead and feather it in, making sure I get some really good saturation. Once I know that I have it sticking onto my foil, I can go in and just load that section. And I'm getting it as close as I can to the roots, so sometimes that might require me, and usually I'm just standing right in front of my piece, which I guess I can do, but I will feather in, or some people call this butterflying, but you will take your brush in a vertical position and just do small strokes as close as you can to that root area. And then I'll start to, bring it on down. A lot of times this butterflying movement really separates the hair too at the same time, so that you can get some of that product distributed on the strands that hide in between. So it's a really good way to get total saturation. And I will flip that bottom up. And some people may have a trouble flipping that side up when they're doing their foils. But what I find is that when you have enough product on your brush, it'll just flip, pretty easily onto your foil. Good, okay? That's what I said. So before I fold this, I got my line, my crease, and if I'm using larger sections like I am now, then that's something I could afford to be concerned about. So I'm going to swipe this up and make sure I get that on top of my fold. Okay, get some good saturation. And if I, went hard and I know I got some good saturation, it may be some hair still stuck in between that's not getting some. When I go to take my foil out, I'll have a moment of pause when I take it out, and that air coming straight to hit it real quick, a lot of times will start to lift it, just one level up, or just slightly more before you rinse it. And so sometimes I'll saturate that with a little bit more product before I rinse it and just separate it from the other ones that I'm taking out. So that's good to know. So you don't have to worry too hard. Don't think too hard on it. Just get that product on there. And the other thing I was going to say, if this is a finer section, like when you're doing baby lights, then you sometimes don't have to worry about the fold. If it's really fine, like almost as fine as this needle comb, then that probably doesn't need too much concern with the fold. But if it's a thick piece, like maybe 1/2 inch, then you want to get it above that fold. That way you can avoid any of those lines in your strand, because you want an even lift off down the strand. So I will fold up, boom, and then now that I folded on top, I'll start to tuck that down, and this I'll move up to get a little bit more security. Also, it'll protect from that bleeding on any hair that I don't want lightener on, okay? Press it in and just do my fold. Okay. So I started my first pattern. Now I'm gonna move in here. I actually gotta turn her a little bit here. Okay, that's better. So using steel diagonal back sections, I'm gonna go across here and do my next section. So even I feel if you are, working with naturally straight hair or wavy hair, something less curly, less coily, you still can use these types of sections. You just have to know that you're going to still have to be responsible for creating that nice blend and depth in that area so that it makes sense, okay? Now, I want to see a pop. So I started off with, one whole piece actually that I, backcomb. So that's known as that slice. So right here, I can go in with a highlight. I'm not gonna do chunky, I'm not gonna do baby, but I'm gonna do a little bit above baby. So boom, I got this here. Now my top piece, I will section that out. Focus on this. If I'm doing a highlight, I'm not required to have a whole bunch of T's, because I do want to see it get closer to the scalp. And so that is going to be set there. Go in with another foil real quick. And then now I can kind of focus on getting it right at that root. And your patterning can be different, it just depends. I'm going for the boldness. I'm going for a lot of lightness in the perimeter and around the face. So I want a lot of blonde. I want to see a lot of blonde. So when I parted out that weave that I just took, I took the one that had most hair. So this was like more chunky. And that way I know I'm going to see more blonde. Make sure that's saturated, it's above the line. And keep going. Do my fold, tuck from underneath. Sure I got that little blanket of security, and fold it up, and then I can move on. Now, I could do this all day long. I don't know about y'all, I just love it. It's just like, it's like a brick pattern, laying bricks. But anyways, this next one, that was the top piece of my weft, or my weave, I'm going to go ahead and backcomb and tease that. And this is actually going to be a tip out. Now, some people like to do all of their highlights at one time, and then they go back in and grab the hair from in between to do their tip out. I don't really like doing that just because I feel that you still have to wait a little bit longer for the tip out to match the same blonde as the original highlight. So I like to just do the tip out at the same time so that they can process at the same time. Now, the other strategy with that is that when I do my tip outs in between at the same time, some have to be extremely low, some have to be kind of high, some have to be medium. They can't all be at the same place. They can, but you'll get a lot more diffusion if you crisscross that placement. So here, I'm gonna start kind of low. Flip that there. And since this is the direction of her face, maybe I'll just bring it into a high V on one side. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me make sure you guys can see that real good. So I'll start, bringing this up high, and maybe it gets thinner on that side. And then I just won't touch that side. And then I have like a little bit of V there. And the middle, sometimes I'll just stroke it up just a little bit for some diffusion. Put that in there. Now I'm not really too worried about the fold here, but I will fold the bottom so that when I do a all the way fold, this blonde will not touch my weaving area, okay? So that way I can rest assured that I'm not gonna have any little bunnies in there, okay? That's a code name, like when you're working on the floor, your client, you don't want the client to know, but you want the other stylist or your assistant to know. So you can be like, yeah, it's a few bunnies in here. It's just kind of like the little bleach spots that you get on the hair that you didn't mean to get on the, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to do a triangle, and that lets me know that that's a tip out there, okay? So that way, it also helps me to stay on target when I'm not remembering which one I did last. Because your pattern is very important, and you want to match it to the other side so you have your symmetry. So when you fold your foils a particular way, you can keep track of which foil is holding which kind of placement as you're moving through. So that's a good tip. I'm gonna do a little bit more, then I'm gonna answer a few questions. And then I'm gonna move on to some toning real quick. So this is, if I wanna see a high emphasis, I gotta follow my same pattern. So this would be a slice. This is kind of thick for a slice, so I might have to take some of this out. And just kind of put it with that. So slice, one stroke usually is all you need there. Make sure I got a good little tension on that tease. Move through. I'm still working in diagonal back sections. And this one I'm bringing all the way up to the top, doing a little bit of butterflying. And sometimes if you have to just move a piece out the way you can, sometimes I will just go in there and stroke. It's all about, where you're positioning yourself to be able to see that. And I'm getting as close as I can without disturbing my tease. Get in there real good. And got some more product here so I can just pick this up and place it. Just a little bit more. And it's above the fold for me. Fold it. Get my little security right there. just do me a little square. And that's secure. So as I work around, oops, oh, I broke it. I broke it. I was being too strong armed. Dang. I broke it. Okay. This is around the face. So I will do my slices. Some people will start off with baby lights right there, but I'll still start off with slices because I feel that you still get more pop in the face and you see it more predominantly, you know, around the face. So it's still kind of necessary. And so I'm going to just do a slice. Maybe this first one can be a little bit more on the thinner side. And then I will start to tease. Now, she has a little bit of bang cut, and I'm sure you guys always run into that, especially when you have some clients that have the curtain bangs, things like that. So for my tease there, I might just kind of take some of that out and just tease that one time. And for your first one around the money piece, around the hairline in the front, if it's just a slice, I don't think that you need a strong tease. So that's been teased. And then here, I'm gonna just start at the bottom and just do a little loose tease right there. And still spray. So now I can pick up both and get my tension. Go in with my fold. And work that with heavy saturation. Now you can do chunky lights all over and have no tip outs, and that would be a really nice pattern too for your more conservative girl. She doesn't need that standout factor. She's just looking for a little bit of color just to stay on trend and that kind of thing. So if you guys had any questions, you can put them in the question box, and then I'm going to open up and answer some. If there are any, I'm not sure yet. But anyways, I'm finished with this one. I'm gonna fold that in. Got my little flap there for some safety. I'll fold it in. And since this is a wider section, I would just do the same section so that it mirrors this one across. And I will continue with 2 with the same pattern as I move up the triangle to the point where I can just start using 1 foil again. So that just depends on the diameter of your client's head because we all have different diameters, okay? Some of them be big head. But then some have narrow little head. So that's good to know. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to some toning real quick because that's very important. I don't want us to run out of time. So I do have my girl over here, and this is Miranda. So that same V, I'm gonna section that out real quick. And she has some highlights already put in that weren't really toned, so she was perfect candidate for this technique. And part her down the middle real quick. It's just a real nice bangs. And sometimes it's kind of tricky with your placement with bangs just because the bang hair is so short. So how will you make that emphasis there? But it's the same way. You just want to add a little bit more blonde, and you want to bring that blonde a little bit closer up to the top. And then as you have a triangle, you'll still move it down as far down as you can. No questions. Hey. So again, thank you guys for joining me. I had a little trip out, but it's all good. So I already pre-mixed a little bit of, this is actually an 8V with some 7.9, which is the 7 chocolate, and a drop of gray. Actually 2 drops, just a little bit. And then for my base, I'm just using a little bit of 5.9, which is 5 chocolate. And it just kind of gives a little bit more depth to that root. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix it up real quick. Bonjour. Hey, what's going on? Thanks guys for coming through. Now this part, you can't really mix it just because the placement is the heavy duty, it's like the heavy lifting, but this part really seals the deal. The way you tone and the placement of your toners is really, really important. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up my mid shaft to ends formula. Another whisk, but I guess not. I was just trying to hurry up and be on time for you guys. So I had to book it to the salon and do all my prep before our line. How you guys feeling about this class so far, this live? And what I've been able to share with you. I see some people requesting to go live. Let me see who this is. Okay. Cut you off if I'm running out of time, but I only got a little bit of time, but I just want to see what you want to say if you come through. So with this one, even though I placed my foils diagonal back, I guess they don't want to come through. Since I placed my foils diagonal back, this way I'm actually going to go horizontal. Horizontal. So I have to see if you guys can see it. Maybe I'll just grab this real quick. Sit a little higher. I'm just a mess there, I guess. So I'm gonna go in, and I'll still start off with a foil because I just like working with foils. I feel like I have way more control when I'm using foils. So I'm going in horizontally. Now I'm gonna start with just applying some of my base. Now, you can tone with permanents. These are all Rhapsody. A lot of times we like to tone with our demis, which in Moroccan case is our Calypso, our Color Calypso Demi Permanent Gloss. I think in Europe we have our Demi Permanent Creams, and just in the US we are just working with our glosses. But a great way to get some tone shift and just apply a toner, you can still use the Rhapsody. You would just add in a little bit of moisture repair conditioner. So it turns it into what we call an Argan Ivy gloss. And so that way you won't have the abrasiveness of a permanent, but you'll have the blend and smoothness and softness of a demi-permanent, which is really great. Plus, you know, the Argan ID, which is repairing the hair. So I'm going to start here first and just bring it down. A lot of the placements around the hairline, sometimes you just can do a root tap, which is meaning that you're just tapping the root. And then, you know, as you get further to the back, maybe you're doing more of a melt. But I will just kind of tap that little edge just for a little bit more depth there on the side, kind of like an upside V, or it makes an A or a half A. And then, all my brushes right here, but then I'll paint on my mid shaft to ends formula on the bottom. And then I can even start to blend that into where I place the root formula. Make sure I get it really saturated here. And if you want to, you can grab a comb. And I like something that's like medium thickness. And then I will go through with that comb and just give it one comb down. And that's going to help my fade. Make sure that's in there. And then that foil can just stay open, and I can go into my next section. The first maybe one or two I'll leave open, and then I'll just start to sandwich it from that point. So I'm going to do a few more real quick, and then I'll try to end it off with the front hairline. So as I move up, I'm just doing a root tap with my darker formula, which in this case is the 5.99. I might bring a little bit of that edge down. And then I will hit a lot of the blonde with that lighter formula. Which in this case too, if you have any hair that's depthy or left out, be conscious of that when using the Rhapsody Argan ID gloss, because it's going to give you some shift, or at least maybe a small lift, which I actually think adds to the dimension, and it adds to the transition from dark to light. So then you're only responsible for using 2 formulas. Sometimes you might have to use 3 formulas just to kind of create this real seamless blend if you're going that hard. But if you use an Argan ID gloss, then you can anticipate that the lighter tone, which usually is a 10, a 9, something like that, and you can also mix that with 20 volume, 10, 15, or 20 volume, you'll get really nice toning of your blonde. But besides that, you'll also get a little shift in the hair that was left out for depth. So that's something to keep in mind. But you'll get less of that to almost none if you use a lower volume, like 5 or 10, and still just get your toning properties out of that. So that's good to know too. And then I'm gonna go ahead again and just do a little comb. And that, make sure that's gonna be good. And then I'll probably just place a foil there, right there on the tap part, and just to stay. And then I can keep going like that, up and down, up and down, up and down. So I didn't really get too much question on this one, but that is okay. I know that you guys were listening to me. And I'm gonna go in with a little bit of this light formula. Now, as I move up, do my one comb through. As I move up, I can start to, go a little bit deeper with the root tone. So tap in the front, and maybe I want to start bringing it a little further down. So I can even really depth it out by hitting that side, kind of the opposite of how I laid the foils. And then I can, move through and apply my lighter tone. And, I don't have, if you are, allergic to the chemicals and stuff, or your hands may be very sensitive, you definitely want to use gloves. So that's about my time. I just want to show you again the finish and how this starts to look. Now, when I start to move up this way and I still have my horizontal sections, I'll do one just so that I can just show you for demonstration's sake before we let go of the live. So say I've gotten all the way to the top, and then I have this section here. I want to go way more depthy here. So that means that I can bring it down. I'm still gonna apply it a little less depthy in the front, but as I move down and say this is on laying on top of a foil, I can go ahead and just get as depthy as I want. And I could even throw in, a few strokes just to get more of that emphasis from dark to light. And then in that front part, I'll apply my lighter tone. Even though I have some lighter medium pieces, which we would think is low lights, in between, it'll still get some lift from the Argand ID gloss. So I'm just moving that through. And then I would, have that depth come in here and just transition like a swooping effect away from the face. So you get one comb through like that, boom, and then of course I would just sit that there and then move forward. So that's pretty much my time, but just to recap, this whole technique, when done correctly, will give you something like this. And you can see how that transition goes. And you can see exactly what I just showed you, where you have a little bit of depth here. It starts to get a little bit more depthy here. That Argand ID gloss formula that I spoke of, some hairs couldn't be left out so you can see the little middle depth, but some hairs got a little bit lifted too. So it still gave you this really nice seamless transition in there, which looks so nice. So anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed that technique. You can see a little bit of lightness in the face, which is really cute. And then it has that depth in the root. So I really love that. And you can try that on your own. And if you do, tag me in there. My Instagram is Greg_Gilmore. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And there was no questions. So I see you next